The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Confederation Council gleamed under the light of 3 different stars. Inside, representatives from across the galaxy gathered for another routine meeting. The dome itself was a marvel of Zephyrian engineering, grown from living crystal that could withstand the vacuum of space while allowing perfect visibility of the cosmos beyond. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez sat in the smallest chair at the council table. Her simple blue uniform looked plain compared to the elaborate displays around her. The Zephyrians shimmered like walking diamonds, their crystalline bodies refracting light in beautiful patterns. The Kradish delegate was actually 5 beings sharing one mind, their insect-like forms clicking and humming in perfect harmony. The Luxari representative was pure energy barely contained in a golden shell, while the Deepkin ambassador floated in a tank of liquid that smelled like ocean storms. But it was the Vorthan delegate that made Elena most uncomfortable. General Korvax stood over 3 meters tall, his gray skin covered in ritual scars that showed his military rank. His forearms were folded across his chest, and his black eyes stared at her with obvious contempt. "The human petition for mining rights in the Kepler sector is denied," announced the Zephyrian speaker, a voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "That region is too dangerous for Tier 7 species." Elena kept her face calm, though frustration burned inside her chest. "With respect, Speaker Valash, human miners have successfully operated in asteroid fields that other species consider impossible to work in. Our casualty rates are actually lower than because you breed so quickly." General Korvax interrupted, his voice like grinding stone. "You replace losses faster than civilized species can count them." The other delegates murmured agreement. Elena had heard this argument many times before. Humans live shorter lives than most galactic species, so the others assumed human life was cheap to other humans. They could not understand that humans valued their brief lives more intensely because of their brevity. Furthermore, the Kradish collective spoke in their eerie, unified voice. "Human technology remains primitive. Your ships are barely capable of basic faster-than-light travel. Your weapons are crude chemical and kinetic systems. Your defensive capabilities are minimal." Elena nodded politely. Everything they said was true, at least on the surface. Earth's official fleet consisted of 30 frigates and 12 destroyers. The largest human ship was only 200 meters long, tiny compared to the kilometer-long dreadnoughts that the major powers operated. Human colonies existed on just 12 worlds, all of them in the outer rim where the soil was poor and the weather harsh. "We understand our limitations," Elena said carefully. "That is why we continue to request permission to establish trade partnerships and learn from our elder species." "Learn?" The Luxury's energy form pulsed with what might have been amusement. "Young species must first prove their worth before they can access advanced knowledge. What could humans possibly offer in exchange for technologies that took us millions of years to develop?" Elena smiled. "We have proven quite efficient at mining operations that others find too dangerous. Human agricultural techniques produce food varieties that many species find appealing. And our entertainment media has gained popularity across several systems." This was all true. Human miners worked in asteroid fields where radiation would kill most other species. Human farms on worthless worlds somehow produced exotic fruits and vegetables that fetched high prices in galactic markets. Human music and stories had spread throughout the outer colonies, though the core worlds still considered them primitive curiosities. "Adequate services for a client species," General Korvax growled, "but hardly the foundation for true partnership. The galaxy has an order, human. Ancient species guide and protect younger ones. This has maintained peace for 10,000 years." Elena nodded again. She had heard this speech many times. The 5 great powers had divided the galaxy between them long before humanity discovered fire. The Zephyrians controlled the crystal worlds where their kind could grow and multiply. The Kradish dominated systems rich in the organic compounds their hive cities needed. The Luxari claimed regions with the specific energy patterns that nourished their plasma-based existence. The Deepkin ruled ocean worlds and the space around them. And the Vorthans held the military strong points that protected everyone from pirates and raiders. Smaller species like humanity were allowed to exist in the spaces between, scratching out lives on worlds that the great powers did not want. In exchange, they provided services and resources to their betters. It was a stable system that had worked for millennia. Of course, Elena said. We are grateful for the protection and guidance of the Confederation. The speaker's crystal form brightened with approval. Excellent. Now, regarding the human request for expanded territory in the Centaurus region. Denied, General Korvac said immediately. That area requires military oversight. Human defensive capabilities are insufficient. Elena had expected this. Every request for territorial expansion was denied on security grounds. Humans were considered too weak to defend new colonies, but also too new to be trusted with real military support. It was a perfect circle that kept humanity trapped in its small corner of the galaxy. We understand, Elena said. Perhaps we could discuss joint defensive arrangements? Human personnel working alongside Confederation forces? The Deepkin ambassador made a sound like water bubbling through coral. Among her people, this indicated polite disbelief. Human military technology is centuries behind our own. What possible contribution could you make to galactic security? Elena smiled again. We are very good at learning. After the meeting ended, Elena walked alone through the crystal corridors of the station. Through the transparent walls, she could see the great ships of the Confederation powers docked at the station. Massive vessels bristling with weapons and defensive systems that could crack planets or shield entire fleets from attack. Her own transport was docked in the service bay with the cargo haulers and maintenance craft. A simple ship barely 50 meters long with a human crew of 8. To anyone watching, it was exactly what it appeared to be. The modest vessel of a minor species begging for scraps from the galactic table. But Elena knew something that none of the great powers suspected. As she boarded her ship and gave the order to depart, she thought about the messages waiting for her in the ship's secure communication system. Reports from human colonies that officially did not exist. Mining surveys from asteroid fields that humans had supposedly never visited. And most importantly, construction updates from projects that had been running for 40 years in systems that the galaxy believed were empty. Great powers saw humans as primitive newcomers who had stumbled into space travel just 50 years ago. They were not entirely wrong, but they had made one crucial mistake in their assessment of humanity's capabilities. They had forgotten to ask what humans had been doing with those 50 years. 3 weeks after the council meeting, Elena Rodriguez received the message that she had been expecting for years. It arrived on a priority channel that made her ship's communication system shriek with urgent alarms. When she opened the transmission, General Korvac's scarred face filled the main screen. His forearms spread wide in a gesture of false generosity. Greetings, Human Ambassador, the Vorthan general said, his voice carrying the tone of someone who enjoyed delivering bad news. The Vorthan Empire has decided to extend its protection to human colonies that currently lack adequate defense. Elena kept her expression neutral as she listened. Around her, the bridge crew of her transport ship continued their work, but she could see the tension in their movements. Every human in the galaxy had been waiting for this moment. Specifically, Korvax continued. We require immediate administrative control of 6 human colonies: New Texas, Harvest Moon, Iron Ridge, Storm Harbor, Green Valley, and Far Horizon. These worlds will be placed under Vorthan protection within 72 standard hours. Elena felt her heart rate increase, but her voice remained steady. And if we refuse this generous offer? Korvax's black eyes glittered with anticipation. Then the Vorthan Empire will be forced to provide protection through military occupation. We cannot allow such valuable resources to remain undefended in these dangerous times. The transmission ended, leaving Elena staring at a blank screen. She immediately opened a channel to Earth, knowing that similar messages had been sent to every human world and ship in space. Within minutes, she was connected to Admiral Sarah Chun, the commander of Earth's small defense fleet. "How long do we have?" Elena asked. 72 hours before their main fleet reaches human space," Chun replied. Her weathered face showed no fear, only the calm focus of someone who had been preparing for this day for decades. "Our scouts report 300 Vorthan warships moving toward the Sol system. They're bringing everything they have." "Love?" Elena closed her eyes for a moment. 300 warships against humanity's 30 frigates and 12 destroyers. It was not even close to a fair fight. What about the other powers? Any response from the Confederation Council? The Zephyrians issued a statement expressing concern about regional stability, Chun said with bitter humor. The Kradish Collective announced that they support appropriate protective measures for developing species. The Luxari said nothing. And the Deepkin actually praised Vorthan leadership in galactic security matters. They're going to let it happen, Elena realized. Of course they are. The Vorthans take 6 of our 12 worlds, and the other powers get to divide up what's left. They probably planned this together over drinks after the last council meeting. Elena opened another channel and found herself looking at the faces of governors from all 12 human colonies. These men and women had volunteered to lead settlements on some of the harshest worlds in known space. They had built cities in deserts, carved farms from frozen ground, and raised children under alien stars. Now they faced losing everything they had worked. 4. The evacuation transports are ready, reported Governor Martinez from New Texas. We can have all civilian populations off-world within 48 hours. Same. Here, added Governor Kim from Harvest Moon. Though it breaks my heart to abandon everything we've built. Elena listened as each governor confirmed their readiness to flee. To the outside galaxy, it would look exactly like what everyone expected. A weak species running away from a stronger one. The pattern had repeated countless times throughout galactic history, but Elena knew better. She had helped plan this moment for over 20 years. Admiral Chun, she said, please confirm that all civilian transports are equipped with the special navigation packages we discussed. Chen's smile was cold and sharp. Every transport has been fitted with quantum navigation systems and emergency supplies for extended deep space travel. They're not just fleeing, Ambassador. They're going exactly where they need to go. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of activity. Across human space, massive cargo ships landed on every colony world. To any observer, it looked like a panicked evacuation. Families loaded their possessions onto transports. Entire cities were stripped of everything valuable. Industrial equipment was packed into cargo holds with desperate efficiency. But Elena noticed details that outside observers would miss. The panicked loading crews worked with military precision. The random cargo included items that looked suspiciously like weapon components and advanced computer systems. And the flight paths that the transports filed with galactic traffic control showed them heading for empty systems that supposedly had nothing worth visiting. On the second day, Elena received another transmission from General Korvax. This time, the Vorthan leader looked even more pleased with himself. I trust the human evacuation is proceeding smoothly, he said. It shows wisdom to accept reality. When my forces arrive at Seoul in 18 hours, they will find a peaceful transfer of authority. The civilian populations are being moved to safety, Elena confirmed. But I should warn you that the official government of Earth has not yet agreed to surrender any territory. Korvax laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Your pathetic fleet thinks it can resist the might of the Vorthan Empire. Human, we have ships that could crack your homeworld like an egg. Your largest vessel would not survive 5 minutes against our smallest destroyer. Nevertheless, our government insists on following proper diplomatic protocols. Then your government will learn the cost of defying their betters, Korvax snarled. My flagship alone carries more firepower than your entire species has ever seen. The Worldbreaker has reduced rebellious planets to glowing debris. Your primitive weapons cannot even scratch our hull armor. Elena nodded politely. I will pass along your message to Admiral Chun. After the transmission ended, Elena opened a secure channel to locations throughout the galaxy. One by one, familiar faces appeared on her screen. These were humans who officially did not exist, operating from bases that were not supposed to be there, commanding projects that the galaxy believed were impossible. Evacuation complete on all fronts, reported Captain Torres from coordinates that galactic maps showed as empty space. Civilian populations have reached the rally points. Construction projects are finishing final preparations, added Commander Park from another location that did not officially exist. All systems are green. Elena looked at each face on her screen. These people had spent decades working in secret, building something that the galaxy could not imagine. They had disguised massive construction projects as simple mining operations. They had hidden entire fleets and systems that other species had written off as worthless. And they had done it all while the great powers of the galaxy dismissed them as primitive newcomers who could barely manage basic space travel. Admiral Chun, Elena said, please confirm that Earth Defense Protocol Omega is ready for activation. Chun's smile was no longer cold. Now it carried the warmth of long-awaited vindication. All systems are standing by, Ambassador. The galaxy is about to learn something very important about humanity. And what's that? That we've been listening very carefully for the past 50 years. Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Station, watching the tactical display as 300 Vorthan warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. The enemy fleet was an impressive sight, with massive dreadnoughts leading formations of cruisers and destroyers. At the center of the formation, the flagship Worldbreaker lived up to its name, a 2-kilometer monster bristling, with enough weapons to sterilize a planet. Incoming. Transmission, reported Lieutenant Park from the communications station. Put it through, Chun ordered. General Korvax appeared on the main screen, his forearms spread wide in triumph. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship buzzed with activity as Vorthan officers prepared for what they expected to be an easy victory. Human Admiral, Korvax said, his voice dripping with false sympathy. I see that your fleet has remained to face us. How noble. How pointless. Surrender now, and I will ensure that your deaths are quick. Chun looked at her tactical display. The official human fleet was indeed present, 30 frigates and 12 destroyers, arranged in defensive positions around Earth. To any observer, it was a hopeless situation. The smallest Vorthan destroyer outmassed the largest human ship by a factor of 5. General Korvax, Chun said calmly, your ultimatum is rejected. Earth Defense Protocol Omega is now active. The Vorthan general laughed. Protocol Omega? What could your primitive species possibly have hidden? More mining ships converted to carry missiles? Do you think courage alone will save you from... Korvax stopped speaking. On his tactical display, warning lights were beginning to flash as his sensor operators detected something impossible. throughout the solar system. Objects that had been classified as asteroids for 50 years were beginning to move. "Sir," a Vorthan sensor operator called out, his voice tight with confusion. "We're detecting massive power signatures from multiple asteroids." "But that's impossible. Asteroids don't have power cores." Chun smiled as she watched the same readings on her own display. "They're not asteroids, General. They never were." Across the solar system, dozens of rocky objects began to shed their outer shells. What emerged from beneath the camouflaged surface defied everything the galaxy thought it knew about human capabilities. These were not ships. They were mobile battle stations, artificial worlds completely covered in weapon emplacements and defensive systems. The largest structure revealed itself near Jupiter's orbit. Aegis Prime had been disguised as a captured asteroid for 40 years, but now its true nature became clear. The massive sphere was over 6,000 kilometers in diameter, larger than the planet Mars. Its surface was a maze of gun batteries, missile ports, hangar bays, and defensive shields. Power readings from the station made the Worldbreaker's reactor look like a candle compared to a star. "Impossible," Korvax whispered, staring at his tactical display as more and more of the asteroids revealed themselves. "How did you build such things? Where did you get the technology? The resources?" "We built them the same way we've done everything else for the past 50 years, Chun replied, very carefully and with a lot of patience. "While you dismissed us as primitive miners, we were hollowing out every asteroid you sent us to work on. Every dangerous job you gave us was an opportunity to build something you couldn't imagine." Another massive station emerged near Saturn, this one over 3,000 kilometers across. Then another near Mars, and another hidden in the asteroid belt itself. Within minutes, dozens of world-sized battle stations had revealed themselves throughout human space. But Chun was not finished. "Computer, activate secondary defense grid." All around the solar system, space itself seemed to ripple. More camouflage structures became visible, but these were not converted asteroids. These were purpose-built warships that incorporated the best technology from every species humanity had encountered. Sleek vessels poured from hidden bases on moons and inside hollow planetoids. Thousands of ships, each one incorporating advanced Zephyrian energy systems. Kradish biotechnology, Luxari plasma manipulation, and Deepkin gravitational control. "You see, General," Chun continued, her voice carrying across the communications channel to the paralyzed Vorthan fleet, "we've been very good students. Every species that looked down on us also traded with us. Every technology we encountered, we studied and improved. You thought we were buying scrap metal and obsolete equipment, but we were actually learning how to build something better." The Vorthan tactical officer was frantically trying to calculate the firepower arrayed against them. "Sir, the power readings are off the charts. Each of those large stations could destroy our entire fleet by itself. And there are dozens of them." Chun opened a new channel that reached not just the Vorthan fleet, but every ship and station in the galaxy. Her words would be recorded and transmitted across known space within hours. For 50 years, the great powers of this galaxy have treated humanity as children who stumbled into space, traveled by accident. You gave us the worst jobs in the most dangerous places because you thought we were expendable. You denied our requests for territory because you thought we were too weak to defend it. You refused our offers of partnership because you thought we had nothing to contribute. On the bridge of the Worldbreaker, General Korvax watched in growing horror as his tactical display updated with more and more contact signatures. Every few seconds, another hidden human position revealed itself. Bases inside supposedly empty moons. Fleets hiding in the shadows of gas giants. Construction facilities that had been operating in plain sight while disguised as mining operations. "You were wrong about us," Chan continued. We are not your junior partners begging for scraps. We are not your client species hoping for protection. We are humanity, and for the past 50 years, we have been preparing for this exact moment. The largest of the human battle stations, Aegis Prime, began to turn slowly on its axis. As it moved, weapon ports opened across its surface like flowers blooming. Each gun battery was larger than most spaceships, and there were thousands of them. Admiral called out the Vorthan sensor operator, his voice breaking with panic. The energy readings from that thing are higher than our entire fleet combined. If they fire, we could crack planets with these weapons, Chun said, her voice reaching every Vorthan ear through the open channel. We could sterilize star systems. We could reduce your proud fleet to floating debris in a matter of minutes. But we won't. Do you know why, General Korvax? The Vorthan commander found his voice. Why? Because unlike you, we don't believe that strength exists only to dominate the weak. We built these defenses to protect what we love, not to conquer what others have built. So I'm going to give you the same choice you gave us. Leave our space peacefully, or learn why humanity survived long enough to reach the stars. The Vorthan fleet began to turn away from Earth before Korvax even gave the order. Faced with firepower that could have destroyed their entire civilization, the warriors who had seemed so confident hours earlier now fled without firing a single shot. But Chun knew that this was only the beginning. Word of humanity's revelation would spread across the galaxy within days. Every major power would be scrambling to understand how they had so completely underestimated the species they had dismissed as harmless primitives. The age of human weakness was over. Now the galaxy would have to decide how to deal with humanity as an equal. The emergency session of the Galactic Confederation Council was unlike anything in the organization's 10,000-year history. Speaker Vilash's crystal form flickered with nervous energy as she called the meeting to order, her usual musical voice cracking with stress. We are here to address the recent revelations about human military capabilities, she announced, though everyone in the Crystal Dome already knew why they had been summoned. General Korvax will provide his report. The Vorthan commander looked nothing like the confident warrior who had issued ultimatums just days earlier. His scarred face was pale, and his forearms trembled slightly as he activated the holographic display. The images that appeared made several delegates gasp in shock. "This is what my fleet encountered in the Sol system," Korvax said, his voice barely above a whisper. Battle stations ranging from 1,000 to over 6,000 kilometers in diameter, each one more heavily armed than anything in our combined fleets. Conservative estimates suggest that the largest station alone could destroy our entire civilization. The Kradish collective clicked and hummed in agitation as they processed the information. Their unified voice carried a note of genuine fear. Analysis indicates this level of construction would require resources equivalent to mining 50 star systems. How did we fail to detect such massive projects? Because we weren't looking in the right places, admitted Director Zenth of Galactic Intelligence, his deepkin form floating nervously in his tank. Every human mining operation we monitored appeared to be exactly what they claimed: small-scale resource extraction from worthless asteroids. We never considered that they might be hollowing out those asteroids to build weapons platforms. The Luxari representative pulsed with frustrated energy. Our sensors detected unusual power signatures in several systems over the past decades. We attributed them to natural phenomena or primitive human industrial accidents. We never investigated because we assumed humans lacked the technology to create anything worth our attention. Speaker Vilash's crystal body rang like a struck bell as she processed the implications. How many systems have human forces secretly occupied? The answer came from an unexpected source. A new voice joined the council session as Ambassador Elena Rodriguez appeared on the communication channel. But this time, she was not speaking from her modest transport ship. Behind her, the observation deck of Aegis Prime showed the vast curve of the battle station's hull stretching to the horizon. "The answer is more than you want to know," Elena said calmly. "For 50 years, while your species assigned us the worthless territories on the galactic rim, we were exploring the empty spaces between your civilizations. Every system you marked as uninhabitable or resource poor was actually perfect for our needs." She gestured to someone off-screen, and a star map appeared showing the galaxy as the major powers understood it. The familiar territories of the 5 great civilizations were marked in different colors, with human space appearing as a few small dots in the outer rim. "This is what you thought human space looked like," Elena continued. "And this is reality." The map changed. New markers appeared throughout the galaxy, showing the true extent of human presence. There were installations in the galactic core where radiation should have killed any known life form. Hidden bases in the empty regions between spiral arms. Construction facilities and systems that the great powers had written off as completely barren. The scope of it was staggering. Humanity had not just been building weapons in secret. They had been quietly establishing a shadow empire that spanned the entire galaxy. "Impossible," whispered General Korvax. "The logistics alone would require thousands of ships, millions of personnel. We would have noticed." "You did notice," Elena replied. "You called us excellent miners and surprisingly adaptable workers. Every dangerous job you gave us, every system you considered too hazardous for your own people, was an opportunity for us to establish a presence where you would never think to look." Director Zent's tank bubbled with anxiety. "This means human forces could strike at any major world within hours. Your hidden fleets could be anywhere." Elena's smile was neither threatening nor reassuring. "They could be, but they won't be. We didn't build this capability to conquer you. We built it to protect ourselves from you." Across the galaxy, the revelation was causing panic on a scale not seen since the last Great War. Trade routes that had operated safely for centuries were suddenly viewed with suspicion as merchants realized that any human cargo vessel might be carrying weapons capable of destroying planets. Several major shipping companies suspended all operations until they could verify the true nature of every human ship in their systems. On the industrial world of Kepler Prime, the Zephyrian colonial government received an urgent message from ships approaching their system. What appeared to be a human trade convoy was requesting permission to dock, but their power signatures were completely wrong for civilian vessels. The panicked governor granted permission rather than risk discovering what those ships might do if refused. The convoy turned out to be carrying nothing more dangerous than exotic foods and entertainment media, just as their manifest claimed. But the fact that they were obviously military vessels disguised as traders sent a clear message. Humans could reach any system in the galaxy whenever they chose to do so. On distant Vega Station, home to one of the galaxy's largest spaceports, traffic control operators watched in fascination as ships that had been visiting regularly for decades suddenly revealed their true capabilities. A simple human freighter that docked every few months turned out to be equipped with stealth systems more advanced than anything the bossed Confederation military possessed. A passenger liner that carried human tourists casually demonstrated gravitational manipulation technology that the Deepkin had thought was their exclusive secret. The minor species of the galaxy reacted with a mixture of fear and hope. The Centauri Collective, a small trade federation that had been bullied by Vorthan expansion for decades, immediately sent a diplomatic mission to Earth requesting a mutual defense treaty. The Rigel Commonwealth followed suit within hours. Soon, Elena's office was flooded with requests from smaller civilizations seeking protection from their more powerful neighbors. But it was the reaction, of the great powers themselves. That showed how completely the galactic balance had shifted. For the first time in millennia, the 5 ancient civilizations found themselves in the unprecedented position of being afraid of someone else. "We need to understand their intentions," Speaker Velash declared, a crystal form resonating with desperate urgency. "Are they planning to use these weapons against us? Do they seek to overthrow the existing order?" Elena's image smiled from the communication screen. "That depends entirely on you. We've spent 50 years learning about your civilizations, your technologies, and your capabilities. We know exactly what each of your species can do. The question is, what are you going to do with what you've learned about us?" The crystal dome fell silent as the representatives of 5 great civilizations contemplated a universe where they were no longer the dominant powers. For 10,000 years, they had divided the galaxy among themselves, treating younger species as children who needed guidance and protection. Now they had to decide how to deal with children who had grown up to be stronger than their parents. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of Aegis Prime, looking out at a sight that would have been impossible to imagine just weeks earlier. Hundreds of ships from across the galaxy hung in space around the massive human battle station. Zephyrian crystal ships reflected starlight in beautiful patterns. Kradish biovessels pulsed with organic energy. Luxari plasma craft glowed like captured stars. Deepkin ocean ships carried their crews in vast bubbles of water. And mixed among them all, sleek human vessels that no longer needed to hide their true capabilities. The emergency conference had been going on for 3 days. Representatives from every major power in the galaxy had come to discuss the new reality that humanity's revelation had created. But Elena knew that they were not here just to talk about human weapons. The evidence is undeniable. Admiral Chun was saying to the assembled delegates through the communication system that connected Aegis Prime to ships throughout the local space. "Our deep space monitoring stations have been tracking this threat for over 30 years. The holographic display showed images that made even the most hardened military officers uncomfortable. Ships that looked like nothing in the known galaxy, their hulls covered in organic growths that pulsed with alien life. Massive vessels that seemed to be grown rather than built, each one the size of a small moon. The Devourers," Chung continued, using humanity's name for the approaching threat. "Our best estimates suggest they will reach the outer edge of our galaxy within 5 years. Their technology is based on consuming and converting all forms of carbon-based life into more ships for their fleet." Speaker Velash's crystal form rang with controlled fear. "You are certain of this intelligence?" "Completely certain," Elena replied. "This is why we built the defensive network you discovered. We weren't preparing to attack any of your civilizations. We were preparing to defend all of them." General Kovacs, who had been silent for most of the conference, finally spoke up. "Why didn't you warn us? Why keep this secret?" Elena turned to face the Vorthan representative. "Would you have listened? 3 months ago, when I requested mining rights in the Kepler sector, would you have taken seriously a warning from a primitive Tier 7 species about threats from outside the galaxy?" The general's silence was answer enough. "We tried to warn you indirectly," Admiral Chun added. "Every request for expanded territory, every petition for advanced technology sharing, every attempt to establish deeper partnerships, those were all efforts to build the relationships we would need to defend the galaxy together. You refused everyone because you didn't think we were worth taking seriously." The Kradish collective hummed with what might have been embarrassment. Analysis indicates that human requests for technological cooperation were consistently denied on grounds of species classification protocols. "If we had understood the true purpose, you would have demanded proof," Elena finished. "And we couldn't provide proof without revealing capabilities that needed to remain secret until we were ready to use them." The Luxari representative pulsed with frustrated energy. So you allowed us to remain ignorant while building weapons that could have destroyed us at any time. We built weapons that could defend you at any time, Elena corrected. There's a difference. We could have used these battle stations to conquer your civilizations, but conquest was never our goal. We wanted partnership, but we knew we would only get it when we could offer it from a position of strength. The images on the display changed to show tactical analyses of the approaching Devourer fleet. The numbers were terrifying. Thousands of massive bioships, each one equipped with weapons that could strip the life from entire worlds. Their advanced scouts had already consumed 3 smaller galaxies, leaving nothing behind but dead rocks floating in empty space. Our current defensive capabilities are insufficient to stop this threat, China admitted. Even with all of humanity's battle stations, we estimate only a 40% chance of success in a direct confrontation. But if we combine our technology with the resources and knowledge of the established powers, the odds improve significantly, finished Director Zenth. The Deepkin intelligence chief had been running calculations. Throughout the conference, combined fleet strength would increase our chances to over 70%. Speaker Vilash resonated with the sound of a decision being made. What are you proposing? Elena smiled. A new Confederation charter. Humanity becomes the 6th major power, with full voting rights and territorial recognition. In exchange, we share our defensive technology and place our battle stations under joint command for the defense of the galaxy. The silence that followed was profound. For 10,000 years, the galaxy had been ruled by the same 5 ancient civilizations. The idea of adding a 6th member to that exclusive club was revolutionary. The humans would have equal status? General Korvax asked. Equal status, Elena confirmed. No more client-species arrangements. No more junior partnership offers. We work together as equals, or we face this threat separately and probably die separately. The vote, when it came, was unanimous. Even the proud Vorthans recognized that survival was more important than maintaining old hierarchies. Within hours, the first joint exercises began. Human battle stations opened their hangar bays to receive Confederation vessels. Zephyrian crystal workers began installing their advanced sensor arrays on human ships. Kradish biotechnology was integrated with human weapon systems. Luxari energy manipulation enhanced human shields, while Deep King gravitational control improved human propulsion. The transformation was remarkable. Technologies that had been jealously guarded secrets for millennia were suddenly shared freely as the galaxy's greatest minds worked together to prepare for the approaching threat. Elena stood on the observation deck, watching a sight that epitomized the new reality. A massive Vorthan dreadnought was docked with one of the smaller human battle stations, its crew working alongside human engineers to install new defensive systems. General Korvax himself was aboard the station, consulting with Admiral Chun about joint fleet tactics. It's ironic, Elena said to her aide, who had joined her at the observation window. We spent 50 years hiding our strength because we were afraid of how the galaxy would react. But in the end, showing them our true capabilities was the only way to save everyone. Do you think it will work? The aide asked. Can we really stop this Devourer fleet? Elena watched as another ship joined the growing fleet around Aegis Prime. This one was from the Rigel Commonwealth, one of the minor species that had immediately allied with humanity after the revelation. Soon, ships from dozens of smaller civilizations would be working alongside the great powers, all united in the face of an existential threat. I don't know if we can stop them, Elena admitted. But for the first time since we reached the stars, we're going to face the future as a united galaxy. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Outside the massive windows, the combined fleet continued to grow. Ships that had never worked together before were learning to coordinate their efforts. Crews that had viewed each other with suspicion just weeks ago were now sharing technology and tactics. The galaxy was preparing for war, but it was also discovering what it meant to truly work together. Humanity had hidden its strength for 50 years, waiting for the right moment to reveal what they had built. That moment had come not as an act of conquest, but as an offer of protection. The species that the galaxy had dismissed as primitive newcomers had become the foundation for a new alliance that might be their only hope for survival. The age of human secrecy was over. The age of galactic unity was just beginning.